Today, we're going to look at the life of a man who saved millions of lives because of his work on plasma and blood banking. His name was Charles Drew. I'm Stephen Yoder, and this is Abbreviated Bios. Charles Drew was born on June 3rd, 1904, in Washington, D.C., as the eldest of five children to Richard and Nora Drew. Because there was a large black middle class in D.C., Drew experienced almost no racial discrimination there. Charles attended Dunbar High School in Washington, D.C. During his sophomore year, his sister Elsie died of tuberculosis. This led Drew to make medicine his career. He later graduated from Dunbar in 1922. Charles attended Amherst College, where he first really experienced racism. Drew excelled more in football and track than his academic studies. He was one of 13 black students out of 600 at Amherst. After graduating from Amherst, Drew began to apply to medical schools. Since medicine was largely segregated in America, Charles accepted a scholarship to study at McGill University College of Medicine in Canada. He became one of the top hurdlers in Canada, but also excelled academically. He finished second in his class of 137 while earning his MD and Master of Surgery degrees in 1933. At McGill, Drew began working with John Beatty to research blood types and blood storage. Some of the problems with blood banks were that blood would begin to clot in storage. There was no way to sterilize the blood bank storage, and there was no proper way to keep the blood refrigerated. Drew began to study the subject of blood preservation. He did his residency at Montreal General Hospital. In 1935, Canada's National Board of Examiners certified Drew as a surgical specialist. After Richard Drew died, Charles decided to return to Washington, D.C. He took a position as instructor at Freedman's Hospital, the teaching and clinical facility at Howard University. Along with training his students, Drew continued studying blood storage. He discovered that sodium citrate destroyed blood platelets, but the clotting process would occur normally in patients. In 1936, he was named assistant in surgery at Howard Medical College and a resident in surgery at Freedman's Hospital. In 1938, Charles was offered a fellowship for advanced training in surgery at Columbia University in New York City. He was assigned to work with John Scudder, who had a grant to build an experimental blood bank. They focused on diagnosing and controlling shock, fluid balance, blood chemistry, preservation, and transfusion. Drew's dissertation was titled Banked Blood, a Study in Blood Preservation. Drew became the first black to earn a medical doctorate at Columbia. Scudder called Drew's dissertation a masterpiece and one of the most distinguished essays ever written, both in form and content. His dissertation showed that Drew was the #1 expert in storing blood in the U.S. It led to his appointment to head the Blood for Britain project, the effort to get blood and plasma to Great Britain in their fight against Nazi Germany. He worked with Scudder and E.H.L. Corison to make the program a success. Blood can be separated into two parts, red blood cells and plasma. Red blood cells carry oxygen throughout the body. Plasma is water mixed with proteins and electrolytes. Drew and the others decided there were a lot of advantages to storing plasma over whole bloods. One, it keeps longer without refrigeration. It won't deteriorate during transport. It can be used with any blood type. It is much less likely to transmit diseases. And it can be injected through veins, muscles, the skin, and in large doses. The three doctors created a new method for separating plasma from blood, adding an antibacterial agent merthiolate, testing the batches regularly, diluting the batches with a saline solution, and testing again before shipping. By the time the Blood for Britain program ended in January 1941, it had collected 14,556 donations and shipped over 5,000 liters of plasma saline solution to England. During this same time, Drew passed his Board of Surgery exams. His defense of fluid balance and management of shock were exemplary. In 1939, Charles met Minnie Lenore Robbins, a 28-year-old home ec teacher at Spelman College in Atlanta. They were married in September of that year. They would have 5 children together. One daughter, the woman on the right, Charlene Drew Jarvis, would grow up to be a neuroscientist, legislator, and university president. In 1941, Drew was made assistant director of a Red Cross program to mass produce dried plasma in New York and later for the National Blood Donor Service. Drew developed bloodmobiles, mobile blood donation trucks with refrigerators. He became known as the father of the blood bank. The Red Cross during World War II, at first, was required by the U.S. military not to accept black blood donors. That would have excluded Drew from donating. Later, they accepted donations from blacks but had to keep the blood segregated. Drew criticized it as unscientific and insulting to African Americans. By October of 1941, Drew was back at Howard University and stayed 9 years, serving as the head of the Department of Surgery and chief of surgery at Freedman's University Hospital. He made it his purpose to train young black surgeons and, in quotes, to place them in strategic positions throughout the country where they could in turn nurture the tradition of excellence. He also spoke out against the exclusion of black doctors from local medical societies, medical specialty organizations, and the American Medical Association. While working at Howard University, Drew, with Philip Golan, patented a new type of surgical needle. On April 1st, 1950, a tired Charles Drew was driving some other doctors to a medical conference in North Carolina. He briefly dozed off and lost control of the car. He was the only one injured in the crash. He was given a blood transfusion at an all-white hospital in Burlington, but died from his injuries. Charles Drew was a highly accomplished doctor whose success in storing blood and plasma have saved millions of lives. Thank you for watching Abbreviated Bios. Please give me a thumbs up if you like the episode, leave a comment. I love to read those, and maybe subscribe if you enjoy this type of podcast. I hope you're back at the next episode.